Hi everyone, this is my video on the hip shimmy. Yay! Something that most people want to learn when they do belly dance, or at least it's something that people think about when they hear of belly dance. So I'm not doing any music in this video because I want to really break it down so that we are doing the shimmy in a safe way. We don't need any injuries or anything like that. Okay. So I'm going to get into my stance first, and in the video, if it looks like I'm more forward with one leg than the other, I'm not. It's just that my ground is uneven and I prefer to do videos outside because I like being outside. So my feet are beneath my hips, my knees are bent. I'm not forward with one leg or anything like that. So just know that. Okay, so with the hip shimmy, all I'm doing is bending one knee more than the other. Then I'm bending the other one. And I want you to notice that the other knee does not lock. So from the side, one knee bends more than the other. The other knee is still bent. It's not locking. We definitely don't want to do that. So it's just a matter of alternating the bend in the knees. Okay. So from the front, I'm bending one knee more than the other. Try it slowly first. It's important to get the moves slowly before we just start full-on shimmying, even though it's super fun and it looks cool. In belly dance, a lot of our moves are really subtle, and so I think when we have a hip scarf on, the move looks a lot bigger than it is. A lot of times in class, I'll have students do this kind of thing when they're shimmying, so they'll be knocking one hip to this side, but their trunk also bends. So we want our trunk to stay straight, facing forward, okay? So it's not this kind of thing, it's just the hips. For those of you who like an analogy, you can think of that moment where your arms have been full of groceries and you need to shut your car door, so you do this kind of a thing. That's the same thing. We're just not locking out either knee. So hips are really loose. When I'm doing this shimmy, I can feel my glutes jiggling, my thighs are jiggling, everything's loose and jiggly. And that's not something that we're really taught is okay, but it's totally okay with this. We want everything to be loose and jiggly. Our muscles aren't supposed to be adhered down to our skeleton. They're supposed to be able to move around. So the shimmy is a good way to literally shake things up. I'm going to take the hip scarf off because I want you guys to be able to see the same movement might not look so big without the hip scarf. So same exact movement. I'm bending one knee more than the other, not locking either one, and I'm just alternating. That's literally all I'm doing. So from the side, still bending one knee more than the other. We can go slowly first and then pick up our pace. And it doesn't look like a whole lot. So the hip scarf, kind of like an optical illusion. So the same thing from the front, being really loose and jiggly, thighs are jiggly, glutes are jiggly. And I do want to say that the faster we move, the less range we're going to have. So the slow shimmy, I'm going to put this back on, will have more range of motion. And then the faster we shimmy, the less range we're going to have. So the distance is going to be shorter. So if I'm going really, really, really fast and I'm barely moving my knees, my hips are still moving, and that's when I get like the jingly sound. But the range isn't very much. Like the amount that I'm bending my knees isn't that much at all. So I'm barely bending my knees back and forth. I still get a little bit of a jingle with the hip scarf. Okay. So that is the breakdown of the hip shimmy. So it's important that we keep the knees bent and keep the tailbone tucked down. So in all of this, I'm not once doing this. I'm not sticking my butt out. My tailbone is still pointed down towards the ground. So from this angle, I can still shimmy without doing this, okay? It's really not good for our low back. It's a little bit too rough on the low back, okay? So tailbone is pointed down, knees are bent, happy shimmying.